Zong pulled out a small tablet with a shimmering screen and quickly began entering data. "Alright, here's what we'll do," he began, flashing his trademark smile. "The Shadow Council uses a special interdimensional station to track us. If we disable it, they'll lose contact with Earth." "Disable the station?" Bob asked. "Are you hearing yourself? We're a farmer and a couple of rebels, not superheroes." "You're underestimating yourself, my friend," Zong said, patting Bob on the shoulder. "You've already taken down a couple of drones and become the most popular person on my planet. So let's have a bit more confidence, alright?" "Where's this station?" Croft asked, ignoring the jokes. Zong pointed at the screen. "It's in low Earth orbit. And the good news is, my ship is just nearby." "And the bad news?" Bob sighed. "It's guarded," Zong shrugged. "But has that ever stopped us?" Bob glanced at Croft, who looked like he really didn't like the idea. "This is madness," Croft said. "But we don't have a choice." Zong led them to a platform behind the warehouse, where his spaceship stood. It was a strange vessel, resembling an upside-down pyramid with many glowing lines. "Well, at least it looks impressive," Bob muttered, inspecting the ship. "This is the best ship in the galaxy," Zong declared. "It can make toast, play music, and, if we're lucky, get us out of this mess." They boarded, and Bob immediately noticed that the interior looked like a mix of high-tech gadgets and a kitchen. Pots and pans were hanging on one of the walls. "Zong, are you serious?" he asked. "Is this a spaceship or a food truck?" "A little bit of both," Zong smirked, taking the pilot's seat. Croft took the navigator's seat, and Bob sat in the back, still doubting the sanity of the plan. The ship lifted off smoothly, as if it was made for such missions. Within minutes, they were in open space. The interdimensional station of the Shadow Council looked imposing, a huge structure of black metal with myriad lights, resembling stars. It seemed almost alive, as if it was watching their every move. "There it is," Zong said, studying the station on the screen. "So, are you ready?" "No," Bob answered, forcing a smile. "Absolutely not ready." "Great attitude," Zong encouraged him. "Croft, how's the weaponry?" "Minimal," Croft replied. "Against something this big, our chances are slim." "Then we'll improvise." Zong quickly pressed something on the control panel. "First, we'll approach the station, create a false alarm to distract the guards, then disable the main power source." "Sounds too simple," Bob mumbled. "Exactly," Zong smiled. "Simplicity is the key to success." The ship approached the station, and Zong activated the cloaking system. "No one can see us," he said, "but it won't hold for long, so let's move fast." Minutes later, they docked with one of the station's sections. Inside, it was cold and dark. The metal corridors stretched far, and their footsteps echoed off the walls. "This is our path," Croft said, pointing to the station map. "The energy module is on the lower level." They moved cautiously, trying to avoid cameras and patrols. "This place is creepy," Bob muttered. "Like no one has cleaned it in 1,000 years." "The Shadow Council doesn't care about cleaning," Zong joked. "They have other priorities." When they reached the energy module, they were met with a surprise. 3 guards in black cloaks stood on watch. "What now?" Bob whispered. "I have an idea," Zong said, pulling out a small device that looked like a toaster. "Are you kidding me?" Bob asked. "Trust me." Zong smiled and pressed a button. The toaster hummed and made a strange noise, drawing the attention of the guards. They went to check the device, and Zong took the opportunity to activate a miniature gravity field. The guards were lifted into the air and got stuck under the ceiling, helplessly waving their arms. "All clear," Zong said, winking. "You're insane," Bob gasped. "But genius," Zong smirked. Croft quickly started working on the control panels, connecting to the station system. "We have 3 minutes before they spot us," he said. "Great." Zong began helping him. "We'll shut down the main generator, and the station will go into sleep mode." Bob stood guard, watching the corridor. "This is too easy," he muttered. And, as per genre law, at that moment, the alarm went off. "They spotted us!" Croft shouted. "Faster, faster!" Bob yelled. Croft pressed the last button, and the generator system shut down. The lights on the station flickered and then went out. "Let's go!" Zong shouted. They ran back to the ship, dodging guards, who were starting to wake up. The ship detached from the station and soared into open space. Behind them, the station began sparking, gradually losing control. "We did it!" Bob shouted, finally relaxing. "This is just the beginning," Croft said. "The Shadow Council won't let this go." Zong smiled. "But we gave them a good lesson." Bob looked at his new friends. "All right, guys, what now?" Zong smiled mysteriously. Now we go for dinner. I think I've earned my burger." As Zong's ship entered Earth's orbit, Bob sighed with relief. A little more, and his nerves would have cracked. Zong was enthusiastically piloting the ship, while Croft remained focused, scanning for threats. "All right, Zong," Bob began. "You mentioned something about dinner. Please tell me there's something edible in your space fridge." "Edible?" Zong asked, turning with a sly grin. "Oh, Bob, my friend, on board this ship, we have galactic culinary masterpieces." "Does that mean more strange alien goo that makes my tongue itch?" Bob scowled. "Well," Zong pretended to think. "There is goo, but I've got a surprise." He pressed a button on the control panel, and a holographic menu appeared in the center of the ship. "Welcome to Start Dinner with Zong." Today's choices are cosmic tacos, molecular lasagna, or a glurb meat burger. "What's a glurb?" Bob paled. "Relax," Zong laughed. "It's just the name. No real glurbs in the burger." "I hope not," Bob muttered. "Fine, I'll take the burger, but make it as Earth-like as possible." As Zong prepared their meal, the ship continued on its way to Bob's small abandoned house. When the ship landed in Bob's backyard, he felt an odd sense of unease. "Something's not right," he said, looking around. Croft scanned the surroundings carefully through the window. "You're right," he said. "We're not alone." Several armed figures in black cloaks emerged from behind the trees. They were Shadow Council hunters. "These guys again," Bob muttered, grabbing his head. "Do they ever take a break?" "They don't have time for that," Croft said, already aiming his weapon. Zong peeked out from the kitchen with a ladle in his hand. "What?" "We just escaped from them. And now they've caught up with us," Croft replied dryly. "Well, at least the burger's almost ready," Zong said nonchalantly. "Zong!" Bob screamed. "Do you even realize they want to kill us?" Zong calmly placed a plate with the burger on the table. "It's all under control." As the hunters approached the house, Bob and Croft took their positions behind a barricade made of old boards. "Do we have a plan?" Bob asked, holding some kind of metal rod. "Hold out until the end," Croft replied. Meanwhile, Zong pulled another strange device from the kitchen. "This is an energy projector. It will paralyze them for a few minutes." "Sounds great," Bob said. "But does it work?" "Let's find out," Zong replied enthusiastically, pressing the button. The device released a wave of bright light that covered the hunters. For a few seconds, they froze, like statues. "It worked!" Zong cheered. "Hurry, before they snap out of it," Croft shouted. Just as the team was about to run, another ship appeared in the sky. It was Glurb, their old acquaintance. "My friends," his voice boomed through the loudspeaker. "You're in trouble, and I'm here to help." Finally, Bob sighed in relief. Glurb's ship fired a powerful beam that disabled the Shadow Council hunters, knocking them out of commission. That was epic, Zong shouted, waving at Glurb. The ship landed, and Glurb stepped out, looking even more pleased than usual. Now, friends, maybe we can finally have dinner? A peaceful night. After all the adventures, the team gathered around the table in Bob's house. These were the craziest days of my life, Bob said, taking a bite of his burger. You did great, Zong said, raising a glass with bright green liquid. To our friend Bob. To Bob, Croft echoed, raising his glass. Glurb clinked glasses with him loudly, then added, But this is just the beginning. The Shadow Council never gives up. You should have stopped it. To Bob, Bob muttered, shaking his head. Everyone laughed, enjoying the rare moment of peace.